These are this afternoon's top stories. Government to settle small business fund. Cuba marks anniversary of revolution and Bobby Christina dead at 22. Good afternoon. Welcome to the ZIZ Midday newscast. Today is Monday, 27th July 2015. I am Nisha David. In national news, the Federation may see the revival of mom and pop shops, locally referred to as sideway shops, and other small businesses. This is according to the Honorable Ian Liburd, Minister of Public Infrastructure, Post, Urban Development and Transport. He said that the government is negotiating some $4 million to go towards a small business development fund.
We have to ensure the financial health of the fund. So what we're looking at is to make some of that monies reimbursable, monies that are paid out of the fund reimbursable in terms of loans at a particular good interest.
He used George Street, Newtown as an example where he says more than 22 businesses have been closed over time and as such likened the area to a ghost town. Therefore, the minister said the government has to find a solution.
So we have to regenerate the business sector in George Street, Irish Town, Sandy Point, all around the country. The mom and pop shops have disappeared. So that small business fund will generate monies for the mom and pop shops, local people to have businesses again in St. Kitts and Nevis.
Last weekend, Minister Liburd accompanied the Federation's Prime Minister to a town hall meeting with nationals living in Anguilla. A destructive brush fire in the Bastille Valley area on Sunday is causing the disruption of electricity services in Bastille. According to Acting General Manager of the Water Services Department, Dennis Paul, this disruption also caused the water services to be interrupted.
Our wells in that valley depend on electricity to be powered so that you can get water. So the entire Bastille area can be affected. In fact, our levels now are critically low.
Paul says the electricity and water departments are working towards re-establishing the water supply as quickly as possible.
The areas to be affected would be Bastille proper, Bird Rock, Frigate Bay and the Southeast Peninsula. What I can tell you is that Skelec is now working to re-establish the supply. The Water Services Department is also working to get standby generators going so that we can return the supply to normal.
In the meantime, Paul is asking all residents in the Bastille area to conserve water as much as possible.
We are not certain when it is going to be back. We are working assiduously, but in the meanwhile, we want you to conserve water as much as possible. The possibility exists that we can be out of water in parts of Bastille today. As I said, we are working assiduously. I encourage all to conserve, use water only when it is critically necessary.
That was Acting General Manager of the Water Services Department, Dennis Paul. The 2015 Culturama celebrations continue in Nevis, and last night saw the crowning of Janiqua Matthew and Vishwanath Singh of St. Thomas Primary School as the Mr. and Miss Talented Youth Pageant winners. The first runner-up award went to Darshani Ross and Davion Wilkin of Nevis Academy, while the Joycelyn Liburd Primary School's Cheyenne Tyson and Bryce Fifield placed the second runner-up. The show was held at the Nevis Cultural Complex and was twinned with the Junior Kaiso contest, which saw Suki capturing the crown for the third consecutive year. He secured 7 points more than his closest competitor, Lil Taj, who placed the first runner-up with 243 points. Prince Akiro, the son of veteran calypsonian Andrew Hollywood Nisbet, placed second runner-up and secured 231 points. Sunday also saw the staging of the first White Diamond swimsuit competition and all-inclusive fete. Kittishan Dylan Walters captured the crown. Culturama 41 continues tonight with the Basil Manors Steel Pan competition and the Livingston Black Liburd Masquerade competition at 7 p.m. Regionally, Cuba celebrates its annual Day of National Rebellion, but also alludes to new relations with the United States. Reuters' Nathan Frandino reports.
With the legacy of his brother Fidel hanging above, Cuban President Raul Castro walked on stage to honor what was widely considered the start of the Cuban Revolution. It was 62 years ago that Fidel led about 150 rebels on an attack on the Moncada barracks in Santiago de Cuba. The attack failed but propelled Castro's revolutionary cause into the limelight. But this year, things have changed. Cuba's Day of National Rebellion comes just 6 days after Cuba and the U.S. formally re-established diplomatic relations. Cuban Vice President José Ramón Machado Ventura delivered the official speech.
Now we begin a long and complex road toward the normalization of bilateral relations, which includes, among other things, the ending of the embargo and the return of the Guantanamo naval base.
The celebrations featured singing, dancing, and hopes for a new dawn for Cuba.
Guyana's President David Granger said the controversy with Venezuela, if not addressed permanently and peacefully, could lead to a decline in the security situation not only for the Caribbean, but for the entire Western Hemisphere.
The era of the use of gunboats to settle dispute is over in a world that has committed itself to peace. This was part of the message sent by President David Granger in his address to graduating students of the Caribbean Defense and Security course at the Perry Center in Washington.
The era of conquest by the conquistadores, the era of warfare by buccaneers and privateers and pirates, the era during which gunboats were instruments of international conflict is over for the Caribbean.
President Granger told the graduates that small states are faced with the tough choices, or whether to spend money on rifles or rice, or whether to buy guns or butter.
Small, weak states are often subject to territorial threats from larger, stronger states. The small state, on the one hand, seeks to guarantee its security from external threats. It is compelled, on the other hand, in the context of its limited resources, what political sciences call the iron law of limited resources, to cater for the needs of its people. The small state must choose, in the context of those limitations, whether to spend its money on rice or on rifles, on guns or on butter.
Granger spoke of the threats faced by small states from larger, more powerful states, not only in the Western Hemisphere but globally, and took the opportunity to draw attention to Guyana's current situation at the hands of Venezuela.
Guyana faces a threat to its territory and to its maritime zone. This threat is not a sudden spat between neighbors. It is not about a minor modification of the borderline. It has persisted for 50 years. Next year, Guyana will be celebrating its 50th anniversary of independence, and we have had to bear the burden of this threat for our entire post-independence existence. Investors have been intimidated. Development has been derailed. Projects have been obstructed. This is too much to bear for a country with fewer than 1 million people. At issue is the principle of the sovereign right of a country to exploit its own resources for the development of its people. At issue is the principle of the peaceful settlement of disputes and the avoidance of the resort to the use of force, threats, and intimidation.
President Granger, who himself was a participant in the course in the year 2000, asked the graduates to be ambassadors for peace, while other speakers asked them to stay connected not only with each other, but with the issues they covered in the duration of the course. An officer of the Guyana Defense Force was part of the graduating class.
Internationally, Whitney Houston's daughter, Bobby Christina Brown, died 6 months after she was found unconscious in a bathtub. She was 22. More in this report by Asana Greenstreet of On Demand News.
Bobby Christina Brown has died at the age of 22. The daughter of the late singer Whitney Houston had been in a medically induced coma since January after she was discovered unresponsive in a bathtub. She never regained consciousness. Last month, she was moved to a hospice in Georgia after her condition deteriorated. She was the only daughter of Whitney Houston and the R&B singer Bobby Brown. In January, police said Bobby Christina Brown was found face down in a bathtub in the Atlanta home she shared with Nick Gordon. The couple had regularly referred to each other as husband and wife. A police report described the incident as drowning. Brown was placed in a medically induced coma and had since been breathing with the aid of a ventilator. Her death comes 3 years after her mother's, who drowned in a bathtub in Beverly Hills in California.
Donald Trump leads the Republicans according to the new poll. The GOP candidate's blunt talk and contrary style is winning fans in the Republican Party. More in this ABC News report.
Tonight, Donald Trump's tough talk appears to be doing the trick. 52% of Republican voters in a new national poll hope the billionaire businessman stays in the race.
And the answer is going to be yes.
This despite outrage over his recent ridicule of immigrants and former POW John McCain.
He is basically selling fear and prejudice.
The test for Trump, can he sustain the surge? 4 years ago, it was Texas Governor Rick Perry leading the field of GOP candidates. A month later, businessman Herman Cain catapulting to the front of the pack. Both eventually dropped out, Mitt Romney becoming the nominee.
Thank you, everybody.
For now, Trump will be center stage at next week's first primary debate, but he's already trying to keep expectations low.
I'm not a debater. I never did that before. I don't know if I'm going to be good. I don't know. I have no idea. I've never done it before.
Trump's 15 Republican rivals are duking it out for one of just 9 spots on the debate stage. Some resorting to unusual behavior, like Senator Lindsey Graham, whose cell phone destruction video went viral.
In the weather, today's skies will be partly cloudy with a brief cloudy spell and widely scattered showers. Conditions tonight will be fair to partly cloudy with little shower activity. Temperatures for today will reach a high of 83 degrees Fahrenheit. Sunset this evening will be at 6:46 p.m. and sunrise tomorrow will be at 5:49 a.m. That brings us to the end of the ZIZ Mid newscast. Join us this evening for these stories and more in detail. Thanks for joining us. Have a marvelous Monday. I'm Nisha David.